Welcome to Inside Marketing with Market Surge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at Market Surge.
Hello and welcome back to Inside Marketing with Market Surge. Today's guest is Socrates Rosenfeld, CEO and co-founder of Jane Technologies, the platform quietly powering the majority of all legal cannabis transactions in the United States. Sock is a rare brand of operator, technologist, and mission-driven founder. He's a U.S. Army combat veteran and former Apache helicopter commander who, after returning to civilian life, experienced firsthand how broken and opaque cannabis access was, especially for veterans. That frustration became the spark for Jane. Since launching in 2017, Jane has grown into the leading digital infrastructure for the cannabis industry, serving thousands of dispensaries and brands across 39 states. Solutions span e-commerce, AI-powered personalization, payments, analytics, and consumer discovery. With 13 software patents, very impressive, and a product suite that is like Shopify meets Amazon, more so than weed tech, Jane has set the standard for how regulated commerce can still be seamless, personal, and scalable. She's got an impressive background. I noted you have an MBA from MIT, you've worked for McKinsey, and have achieved some recognition in Forbes and Deloitte. And today we're going to dig into what this all means and what other businesses can take away from this learning and just learn a little bit more about this industry and Jane Technologies. Thanks for joining.
Thanks so much, Reed. Appreciate the intro. And I'm also curious about what this all means. So excited to dive in with you, man.
Awesome. Okay, so, in the intro I mentioned you have been flying Apache helicopters in your military service. You jumped to building core infrastructure for the cannabis industry, which is highly regulated. The highly regulated thing caught my eye as maybe that's a synergy that works, but also I'm sure there's some culture of a little bit more relaxed culture in this industry than military. But what do you think are some of the largest similarities and differences between those two fields?
Well, the differences are fairly obvious, and this myself being included. Anyone would want to see me behind the controls of an Apache helicopter these days? If you see me on the road, I'm driving at the speed limit, and anything above that's too dangerous for me. So these days I like to play it safe. I think the another big difference between the military environment and the startup environment, particularly in cannabis, is that the military has protocol and procedure and process and checklists for literally everything, like down to how you wear your boots. There is a standard. And so when you're unsure or uncertain, you just have to know the reference, and you go and you look at it, and the Army will tell you what the standard is to do this task. In the startup world, again, particularly in this nascent industry that is cannabis, the majority of the time, there is no template. There is no roadmap. There is no standard, and you're on your own. And as daunting as that can be for someone who's used to operating in a very standardized environment, it was very liberating, Reed. And at the same time, it was also terrifying. And so you learn how to calibrate that. And now I realize that for me, unknowns that's where all the fun is. And the moment something's known, okay, now you can go and set a process and procedure and standardize that and go. But I like the unknown piece. In terms of similarities, at the end of the day, whether you are leading people in the Army, leading people at McKinsey, running your own podcast, or leading a software company in cannabis, it's a human connection. And the ability to connect first with yourself, your human self, meaning giving yourself the grace to feel feelings, giving yourself the grace to make mistakes, to acknowledge when things are hard, to acknowledge when things are frustrating, in yourself first. I think it's something that came to me a little bit too late in the Army, and something that I'm really leaning into here at Jane. But my love for creating space for people to grow and connect, not only with themselves, but with each other, I think that is a similarity that carries forward from the military to Jane and hopefully to other parts of my career and future, is that human to human interaction. And I've learned some principles there I'm happy to get into when appropriate, Reed, that I learned in the military and have applied that here to Jane, and that's made a huge difference to me. So the human piece is really consistent.
Well, that's awesome. Actually, I would be interested. So have there been frameworks? You're an MBA too. So I use the term frameworks.
Yeah.
It's like mom spaghetti, but have you taken some of those frameworks
Yes.
from military life and decision processing? Has that
Yes.
shown up in running Jane?
Yes. Here are some frameworks I've taken. You identify the what, meaning you set the vision as a leader. But it's not, once you set that vision, you no longer own that vision. It's owned by the entire company. And so anybody from the CEO down to your junior salesperson or engineer should know why they're doing what they're doing. In the military, that was very, very important. If I talk to my crew chiefs and I would ask them, hey, do you know why you're changing out this engine? And they really weren't able to communicate that, the task itself gets pretty mundane. And the task itself, then you start looking at like, okay, when can I get this done? What's the least amount of output that I need to just to check the box and get out of here? But if you can really distribute the why and allow everybody in the organization to feel like they have ownership over that why, now you can mobilize and do great things. You can see that here at a broader scale. When societies lose sight of why they're doing what they're doing, people will often just gravitate towards the lowest common denominator and do what's the least amount they need to do just so they don't get yelled at or in trouble or they get their paycheck. At Jane and in some of the great units that I was fortunately able to be a part of in the Army, that why was shared. I also think along the same lines, really one of the biggest takeaways was to do something on your own is very limiting and very scary. But if you can do it together, you can go and do things that were otherwise perceived to be impossible. And that element of team, we did some scary things in the Army, but not once did I ever feel like I was alone. We do some
Okay.
scary things at Jane, different kinds of scary, not life or death. Building a business is intense. To take
Yeah.
different shots, to take risks, to touch the truth, to go where it's hard. If I felt like I was just a founder by myself, man, I would have quit a long time ago. Since day one, I've had some incredible teammates around me, and that team has grown since then. And that's where we're able to take bigger shots, do harder things. And it's really, you can map it back to the fact that people understand that there's a shared why and they understand that they're not alone. And if those two things are prevalent and at the surface, that organization can move mountains.
Awesome. Well, very inspirational, if anything. Now, you're working in an industry that is super highly regulated, and also it varies state by state, I'm
Yeah,
sure, and you've got a lot of different laws and regulations to comply with. What would you say that most founders may not realize when it comes to building a business, building a software business in this
great
environment?
question. I think a lot of the shortcomings that I've observed and tried to avoid, can't avoid them all, is when founders or technology companies come in, look at what's going on in other verticals, and will just copy that, template it, and try to push it into cannabis. That is not going to be a successful playbook because cannabis, and I can say this with some level of certainty here, that this is the most complex retail environment in the world, period. Um, you see a lot of companies try to replicate technology coming out of the restaurant industry, which is understandable, right? You think fragmentation, inability to ship direct to consumer, on demand. Okay, that from that perspective, it looks very similar. But if you think about how people order their food versus how they order a CPG item is very different. I know you're in Chicago, Reed, but if you came and visit me in Santa Cruz and you wanted to eat some Mexican food, I wouldn't say, hey, here's, chicken mole. Which one has the best chicken mole around? You'd be like, oh, let's start with that Mexican restaurant. That's by my hotel, or it's got the best ratings. Now
Sure.
let's go into the menu
Right.
items. And
Mhm.
those menu items never change. So you can create a templated technology and try to apply that to other quick service restaurants. But the way cannabis looks is, number one, people very rarely say, you know what, I want to buy from this store. And I'm talking like CPG in general. Think about the last time you bought anything on Amazon or you looked
Right.
for something on Google. You were like, hey, I want this product. And to be able to tie a single product across thousands and thousands of different retailers across many different states, those products are represented differently across each retailer. Things get very complicated very quickly. And we had to, from day one, embrace that. As frustrating as that was, Reed, it was like, dang, this would be a whole lot easier if this was a bunch of
Yeah.
McDonald's menus. It's not. So
Right.
what do we need to do? Okay, we need to build a master catalog. And then we need to build machine learning and artificial intelligence. We were doing this 10 years ago that can locate this one individual SKU across every state market, across every retailer. And then from there, now you can create a shopping experience that looks and feels like any other product on the internet. So I think that's been a big aha moment for us. And I think for a lot of other technology companies is that if you want to enter into the cannabis space, you're building things bespoke. But here's the interesting kind of wrinkle to that, Reed, is now, and you had mentioned in the introduction that we have some deep IP and some patents to our name.
Yeah.
Well, now we're like groceries, same thing. Convenience
Yes.
goods, same thing. Pharmaceuticals, same thing. Pet food, everything. Like, oh, could I have an Amazon-like shopping experience, except unlike Amazon, where I have to order from Amazon and get shipped to me, can I actually push that value into the local brick and mortar ecosystem? That is what we're creating, and it's really cool that it's being born from the cannabis industry and not the other way around. So we're kind of flipping it. We're not taking anything from the
Yeah.
outside trying to jam it in here. We're actually inventing and using cannabis as an incubator and taking that IP to other retail verticals. And Jane is not the only one doing that. There are many examples of other tech companies that are taking their IP outside of the cannabis space.
Okay. So your IP, your software is primarily, correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong, this is just my understanding, is primarily infrastructure to support like front end applications. So many consumers may not actually realize that you're behind the scenes driving this. Was that always the plan, or did you have intent to be direct to consumer? Any talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit, and what's the difference in
Yeah.
approach that you
The
have?
benefit is that from day one, we were never able to ship direct to consumer. And I think that was so fortunate to be the truth because we would have just copied Amazon. We would have said, okay, let's copy Shopify and Amazon and then just build that. And there would be no innovation coming out of that. So here's another great example of the complexity and obstacles becoming the opportunity. So any entrepreneur out there listening to this, like, hey, if it's hard,
Sure.
lean into that because that means no one else has figured it out and you could be the one to do that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the first piece. We never had to consider it. I'm so grateful that we didn't have to because really, if you think about it, as much as you love an Amazon or one of these on-demand delivery services, I'm not going to order my food because the technology is great as much as I'm going to order food because I love that restaurant. And so we made the conscious decision to never put ourselves in between the retailer or the brand for that matter and the consumer. We don't want to take a take rate. We're not trying to steal data because in order for Jane to win, this industry needs to win. And in order for this industry to win, the retailers and brands need to be empowered to know their customer, know exactly what to sell them, how to price it. And that's Jane working behind the scenes and then empowering these retailers and brands to connect with the customer, because that's ultimately what's going to build this industry. Jane is kind of the mycelium of the space. You won't see it, but we're kind of connecting all the dots. But the stuff that you do see, the products that you love, the products that you gravitate towards, the stores that you love, let's go put them and set them up as best as we can from a software standpoint to set them up for success, because that's really how the industry is going to be set up for success for years to come.
Okay. So now you pointed out something earlier about many different similar
Yeah.
products, but delivered differently or packaged differently, regulated differently in so many different places. So it's like it's all the problems of a retail infrastructure time exponentially increased. And sounds like a great opportunity for AI. Like years ago, we would have said this is a great big data example. And now like AI is the face of that. And do you tell us like how is AI a part of this? Are there things that AI you've avoided to make it more bespoke? I don't know.
Yeah,
What
great
do you
question.
think about
I
AI?
can geek out with you about this. And my team's,
Sure. Yeah.
the two people on my team that are listening are probably smiling, because when AI first came out, I was like, oh my God, what is this? Only to realize that my engineers had to pull me aside and be like, hey, man, we've been using AI for a very long time to build our catalog. Here's an example of that. And then I'll get into how a user is experiencing AI, different operators. But none of this is, AI is only as good as the data set from which it learns. And we right now have 3 million SKUs in our master product catalog. But here's the deal, Reed. One SKU, let's get out of cannabis for a second. And I was a sorry consultant at McKinsey, cleaning massive data sets to find how a 6-pack of Coca-Cola performs across the country. Only to realize that the SKU of 6-pack of Coca-Cola is named almost like hundreds of thousands of different ways across the country, if not the world, right? Some people might put 6C. Some people might actually spell 6-pack Coca-Cola. They might put 6PK Coke. So it's insane, right? And so what we've been doing is we've been training our data set for almost a decade now to understand, if a retailer calls it this, it's this product. And now we have a clean data set. So now we can add agentic AI to different parts of the platform. One example is as a consumer, right? We can tell you, Reed, if just by a few clicks on a Jane powered menu, by what you're looking at, we can curate. Right now, there's about 800 SKUs that sit on a dispensary store shelf every single day. 15% change out every day, which is nuts. But we can take that 800 SKU set and bring it down to like 10 products that Reed would like.
Yeah.
That's the level we call it the Spotify effect. Can we take millions and millions of products and curate it down to that specific consumer? And that's beneficial for the consumer. That's beneficial for brands, our advertising business, et cetera. Retailers love it. We also tell retailers, okay, hey, we know how SKUs perform. You should be carrying this product. You should be discounting this product. You should be actually increasing the price of this product because you're actually leaving money on the table. Here's when you should reorder the product. So that's another way that we are taking raw data and transforming that into actionable insights. And then for brands, what's really interesting now is brands have to advertise. This is just the nature of the internet. Unfortunately, most times brands have this spray and pray model. Like, hey, cool. And I'm probably preaching to the choir here, Reed, because you're the expert.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you spend some money with the platform. The platform says, look, you got a lift in sales. Congratulations. And the marketing professional's like, okay, if I turned off the ads, would they have still bought my product? Who's buying my product? What else did they buy? So it's not as much of an advertising game as much as an attribution game. And when you can come back to a clean data set, we can tell brands now not only the ROI down to the SKU. Hey, you promoted this SKU. Here's how many SKUs got purchased from that promotion. But now it's,
Wow.
hey, here's how they interact with your SKU. So we are so excited. And the good news for us is that, again, you can't just jump into this and copy it and say, okay, ChatGPT, tell me what product of cannabis I should buy. Because ChatGPT doesn't
Right.
have that data set, that clean data set with the attribution and billions of touch points against those SKUs. That's what we have. So we feel like we have a pretty good moat moving forward to personalize cannabis for the next generation and also help retailers stay very, very competitive and ensure that they're carrying the right products, putting it in front of the right consumer at the right time.
That's awesome. And that's exactly what what kind of business can really thrive in the AI environment. You did a great job describing how a data set, how valuable that continues to
Yeah.
be. And, well, I love it. That was a great explanation. But if we're talking about the future, so 5, 10 years down the road, what do you think is going to be different? Do you think that the purchasing experience will change? Loads will change? What do you see
Yeah.
ahead for this
I
industry,
think the only thing guaranteed
Jane?
is that things will change. I think
Sure.
regulations will change, and they are changing. If you and I were having this discussion just 5, 6, 7 years ago, there'd be like 8 legal state markets. Right now, we operate in 40 state markets. You're going to see
Wow.
Pennsylvania, Virginia, shout out to Florida. They're doing their best to legalize. So it's happening. Even, when you start, my friends in North Carolina, when that state starts talking about, hey, how do we have a legal cannabis industry? This is the momentum is there and there's no slowing this down. This is the next great American industry, period. Really. It could be a job creator. I won't get on that soapbox for another podcast read. So I think that's going to change. I think you're going to see, if you don't see full legalization within 5 years, you will see, for all intents and purposes, the ability to pay with a credit card, the ability for retailers to have a national footprint and have national distribution. Do I think you'll be able to order a joint in the mail and have it shipped to you? Probably not. It's going to look and feel a lot like alcohol, in my opinion. But that's where I
Yeah.
think things are headed. And recently, DC came out with mandate to reschedule cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3, which is great because now the most important thing is you can actually put some research, some scientific research to this plant and confirm with data all the things that people have been saying for thousands and thousands of years, and that this plant helps them across many elements. I think more broadly, the way people are going to be shopping is going to be digital first. So again, let's leave cannabis and go into grocery store world where I like to live in the future. Imagine I still want to go to the grocery store. I still want to like touch the apple and smell the fruits and all those things. But it'd be pretty cool if I had the ability the moment I stepped into the grocery store, or I was planning to get to the grocery store in 15 minutes out. I'm like, hey, I'm coming. And it's like, okay, Sock, welcome back to your favorite grocery store. Here are the products that you ordered last time. Given on how you've been ordering, we think you're probably going to run out of flour and bread. We'll get that stock for you. Oh, there's a sale going on your favorite brand if you want to put that in place for you. And then it's a lot more curated experience. I have my card already set. People are helping me out with that. And then, oh man, you know what? I'm actually cooking a dinner. I've never grilled salmon before. Let me go talk to someone at the fish station to say, hey, how do I prepare this? That's the human interaction. So it's going to go from cashiers to consultants, in my opinion. I hope it's not this dystopian, you never see anyone and you're just walking around like some Amazon warehouse. That's weird to me.
Yeah.
But I think there will be a
Right.
marriage of online and offline, and that it'll be fully integrated, whether you're just ordering from your laptop or stepping into the brick and mortar store. So that's the vision I have. Whether that comes out, in 5 years or 10 years, I think it's a matter of when, not if, though.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And Sak, you're a great explainer, and I think that makes you're well positioned. I think I've learned a lot, and I would definitely. I'd love to have a longer conversation. The format of this show is we're a little bit
Sure thing.
concise and do some quick hits, and you've got a lot there. If people would like to learn more,
Yeah.
have you on as a speaker, podcast guest, where can they find you, or where can they
Yeah,
learn more
man.
about Jane?
But I'm happy to come back anytime, man.
Great, awesome.
Because who knows? In a couple of years, maybe if this whole thing has changed, and you could be like, "Suck, you were wrong on all of it." So I'll leave it at that.
It's all on tape here. So
But if people want to reach out to me, find me on LinkedIn, Socrates Rosenfeld. I encourage people to check us out. Go to our website, iHeartJane.com. If you want to reach out to our team or have some suggestions for us, info@iHeartJane.com. Follow us on our social. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, iHeartJane. And we always love hearing from the market. So no topic is off limits. Just hit us up whenever you can.
thanks for coming on, Sak. This has been definitely one of my favorite podcasts, and I
Sweet.
like you're a great explainer. Did great, and yeah, look forward to potentially a future podcast. I think there's just a lot more to dive
Awesome,
into.
brother.
So thanks for coming
Thanks,
on.
Reed. Really appreciate it, man.
All right.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to marketsurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's marketsurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.